In those early days, Walt Disney himself was the voice of Mickey Mouse. Now he's a tycoon at the center of a vast business empire.
Hi, we're feeling
Cookie Mama 1, 2, 3, 4.
and today we are doing a video about Walt Disney and the history of Disney. I think it is time for Cookie Mama to start telling the story.
Alright, so Walter alias Disney was born in 1901 in Kansas City, Missouri. He was the fourth son of 5 children born to Flora and alias Disney, who were Irish Americans. When he was 4 years old, the family, which included, his 3 older brothers and his younger sister, moved from Kansas City, Missouri to Marceline, Missouri. In Marceline, Disney developed an interest in drawing when he was paid to draw a picture of a neighbor's horse. And also he liked to practice drawing by copying the front page cartoons of a local newspaper.
This is a real thing for a kid to be paid for.
Exactly, to draw a picture of a horse. It's random. I guess it was 1900s, but okay. 1911, the family moved back to Kansas City. His father purchased a paper route, and Walt Disney and his older brother Roy had to get up at 4 a.m. every morning to deliver newspapers before they went to school, and then after school they would also deliver newspapers. It was reported that he would often fall asleep in class, and he had very poor grades because of the lack of sleep that he was getting. This continued for 6 years of his life, getting up at 4 a.m. every day.
This is something I would never do.
In 1917, so at this point, Walt was about 16, Disney's father purchased stock in a Chicago jelly production company, and the family moved back to Chicago. Disney was in high school at this time, and he actually became the cartoonist for the school newspaper. In 1918, when he was 17, he wanted to enlist in the army and serve in World War I, which was happening at that time, but he was too young because he was still only 17. So instead, he joined the Red Cross, which I'm assuming is the American Red Cross, and got sent to France, where he was an ambulance driver after the end of World War I. While serving with the Red Cross in France, he drew cartoons on the side of his ambulance, and he also published little cartoons in the Army newspaper. In 1919, he returned to Kansas City and worked at a local studio where he was drawing for advertisements and different companies in the area. And it was actually while he was working at that local studio that he met Ube Iwerks, who was also working at the same studio.
So Walt Disney and Ube Iwerks went into animation together, and they founded Disney. And so they worked on
before they started Disney. They were working
with
Laugh-O-Gram
Shorts, and who went bankrupt in 1922. But that caused Disney to relocate to Los Angeles in 1923. So then, after this, they relocated to Los Angeles. After they relocated to Los Angeles, they began making Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, which is kind of a precursor to Mickey Mouse, in 1927 for Universal Pictures till 1927 to 1938. In early 1925, he met Lillian Bound, who was an cake designer, and they got married of July that same year. And they had a happy marriage and 2 kids. Those 2 kids' names are Lillian, Diane, and Sharon. And one was born in 1938, 36. The other one was 1933
is when Diane was born.
And
1936 is when Sharon was born. Sharon was also adopted.
They had a happy marriage and they tried to keep their daughters out of the public eye, especially after a kidnapping.
Yes, of the Lindbergh baby. And this is a very rare photo we have of the girls.
So I wrote what was it called? Universal Pictures took control over Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. So
in 1928.
So they had to redesign the character. And that created Mickey Mouse. And not only in addition to having to redesign Oswald, they also had to add some new characters to Oswald, including Clarabelle Cow, Boris. As you can see, Clarabelle Cow appears in Mickey Mouse sometimes, the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and some of the new stuff which I was watching. And let's just say she is a pretty decent character, not the best, but not too bad.
She often is portrayed as the best friend of Minnie Mouse. And she's also been the girlfriend of Horace. What is Horace's name? Horace.
What is his name?
Horsecollar.
Horsecollar.
And later she was the girlfriend of Goofy.
And him and Horace look very similar.
Yeah, so we didn't find anything that said explicitly Goofy was like a playoff of Horace, but if you look at their pictures, it's pretty clear that Horace was kind of like a precursor to Goofy.
Yes, it was pretty clear. So Walt Disney wanted to call the Oswald redesign Oliver Mouse. Mortimer Mouse. But his wife said no, that's too fancy. So he said no, maybe you should use Mickey instead. And that's how Mickey Mouse was created.
So in 1928, the first short of Mickey Mouse was called Plain Crazy. But the first short and actually the second short that included this new Mickey Mouse character, the second short was Galloping Gaucho. They failed to find a distributor, so they weren't successful. But however, the third short, Steamboat Willie, which also came out in 1928, was a success after Disney teamed up with Patrick Powers, who was a producer and a film distributor at the time. Okay, so this is where we start to get into some juicy drama happening behind the scenes. So after the success of Steamboat Willie in 1928, Disney started, implementing a lot of new ideas. He, in 1930, approached Patrick Powers, who was the distributor at the time, about cutting some of the production costs and also paying the animators more, and Powers actually refused. During this same time period, Disney had also started to have some conflict with his longtime partner, Ube Iwerks. So around 1930, a little before 1930, so like 1929, according to an unconfirmed account, Disney and Ube were at like a social party together, and a child approached them and asked for them to draw Disney like on a napkin. Disney took the napkin and the pen from the child and handed it to Ube and said, "Draw it." And Ube got really upset and threw the pen and napkin and stormed out of the party. So this was around the same time that Disney was like having problems with Powers. So what ended up happening was Ube and Powers both left Disney and started their own production company in 1930. I think it was called like the iWorks production company or something. But it would be a short-lived company. Stay tuned for that.
So after what was his name? Ube and Powers left. They teamed up with Columbia. They teamed up with Columbia Pictures to create new characters in Mickey Mouse, including Goofy, Donald Duck,
and Pluto.
And Pluto. As Disney's success grew, they started introducing synchronized sound and color in movies that include Bambi, Dumbo, Fantasia, and Pinocchio.
They also, this is when, during this time period, around 1935 is when we saw the first colorized Mickey Mouse movie, which was called the, what was it called? The Marching Band, I think.
A major success was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs because that movie spent $1.4 or $1.5 million to create, and it made $6.5 million in the box office.
So while Disney was having major success with his new distributor, Columbia Pictures, Powers and Ube were not having much success with their new production company. And in 1936, iWorks company failed as the financial backers pulled funding. So they had to stop the Ube iWorks production company. And in 1940, Ube ended up returning to Disney to work with Disney from 1940 until 1963. When he again left Disney, he retired. When he returned to Disney in 1940, he worked on several different projects, and a couple of the biggest ones that you probably know are Song of the South, which came out in 1946 and has been canceled because of, well, we'll do a video on that later. And also 101 Dalmatians when it originally appeared in 1961. In case you're wondering, Ube iWorks, after retiring in 1963, passed away in 1971 from a heart attack in Burbank, California. He was 70 years old.
So the start of World War II started to affect Disney's success. Bambi was 200,000. Fantasia and Pinocchio was 4 million combined, leading to a total of 4,500,000 or 200,000.
Well, 4,200,000 for in loss for the three movies.
Put on Fantasia. That's okay. So, guys, stay tuned for the next part in the Walt Disney trilogy of parts. 1 or maybe 2 parts about Walt Disney coming out soon, and this is just one of parts where we're going to be covering all 100 years of Disney's history for the anniversary of Disney, the 100th anniversary.
Stay tuned to find out how Disney gets out of the financial ruin that he was actually starting to see in the 1940s. Signing off.